Watcher's Journal for any junior weather enthusiast with interactive games, forecasting tips, and weather information. Make sure that you download today for free exclusively at weather225.com. Alright, sorry for the delay with that. We had a little technical issue just because of our connection here, but we have a lot to talk about, including a morphine supercell that is developing in portions of the Metroplex right now, and we're keeping a very close eye on this. This is going to be in the community of Corsicana, and let's actually head to that radar here real quick, and we'll pause this and just put it back into motion. And let's see, hopefully it is working on the Facebook. We are live on YouTube, but the Facebook seems to always have issues, unfortunately. So looks like it's working. We're going to cover this real quick. We are watching this storm in Navarro County, and we had two separate storms. It is morphing now into more of a supercell. We're keeping a very close eye on this. It has had a history of 1.5-inch hail. That was closer to Ennis. That's just about golf ball size. Not quite golf ball. We're at ping pong, but it is fairly large and noticeable hail. Excuse me. The other thing I want to mention is the little area of rotation south of M House, west of Corsicana. And the reason we're highlighting that is not for a tornadic risk, but notice all these little areas of spin within it. Now, we don't want to scare you when we say these little areas of spin that we're watching, because we are watching the potential for these strong rotating updrafts that are going to be capable of this large to very large damaging hail. In fact, we're almost at 2 inches in diameter, and it's not going to surprise me if we actually hit that here pretty soon. So this little spin up area right to the west is not really a tornado risk at the moment. That is the risk for potentially up to 2-inch hail. So we're looking at velocities, like I said, not necessarily for an immediate tornado risk. While there is a low tornado risk today, that's not why we're watching this. This area spin near Rowan and Corsicana is telling us, and if we go to the hail core tracker, you can see this one's coming up, and it has had a history of producing up to ping pong ball size hail. So when we see these little areas of spin, it's not necessarily for a tornado. It is more because we are monitoring the updrafts that are going to be supportive of this large damaging hail. Outside of the region, if you are in the DFW metro area and you're going, well, we're in a watch, I'm looking outside and there's absolutely no clouds in Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm currently in Irving and I'm looking out my window, completely sunny skies looking north. And we know that can be deceiving. We do have that watch in effect until 10 o'clock tonight. Make sure that you are staying weather alert further to the north too. And I'll put this back into regular radar here. We don't have anything going on up here. I'll put the radar off just to show you the overall alert. It does not include Denton and Collin counties. However, if you're in these northern areas, just keep an eye on the radar for the day, especially because we might have storms that kind of merge into a complex. They could build to the north, and it's just something to watch for gusty winds and lightning, especially if you're outdoors and on area lakes. But right now, if you're in DFW, it's beautiful right now. I hope you're enjoying the day. But keep in mind, there are the potential for storms, and we're starting to also notice further to the western Breckenridge a new area of development further out to the west, and we're going to have to be watching that as we head into the next couple of hours. Let's go back to the south. We have a TVS now. And what that is telling us is the radar is picking up on that area of spin. And like I said, there is a low tornado risk today, but we're keeping an eye when the radar is noticing this little spike in activity. That to me is telling me that this hail core is coming up pretty fast. And same with the one that's near Ennis. So we have two hail cores. The storm is basically merging. Let's go to the reflectivity of this and notice over the last little bit, and we'll put this slowly into motion. We had two storms, and now they are merging. These were two separate storms. They're now merging, and it now has that more classic supercell look to it. And for those who don't know, supercells don't only indicate tornadoes. Supercells are just discrete, long-lived cells. And what people don't really know is that these are they're basically living things. And we know that that'll sound weird, but you have these storms. They're born. They start to develop. They go through stages. They mature. They kind of go through weakening stages. They'll breathe in and breathe out the air. And this one is maturing, and we're noticing these little hook features on the backside of the storm. This is going to continue to merge, and this wouldn't surprise me if this is the one that grows to be that more cyclic prone hail producer. And this is what we're watching right here. So we're of course watching for the potential for maybe an isolated tornado today with some storms, yes, but I'm going to keep hammering on the point that while there is that low tornado threat, when we're looking at the velocity, we're looking for those strong updrafts that will be capable of supporting and holding hailstones for a long period of time. And also, what people don't really know is with storms, you kind of have to look at different factors for the size of the hail. You have to look at the winds aloft. You have to look at how tall the storms are and the shear with it. And right now, conditions are, favorable for that large damaging hail. And how that starts off with is a storm will get an updraft going. There'll be small frozen water particles that kind of float around in the air. And those will be suspended in the updraft. They'll bounce off of other particles. They'll build up. And as that updraft matures and continues to rise further and further into the storm, as that updraft continues to get stronger, it will suspend that hailstone, and it will continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger until it has nowhere to go. And right now, that updraft is supporting up to almost 2-inch hail. So we're keeping a very close eye on this one. Let's go back and show a wide view. We are keeping a very close eye on this one near Breckenridge. This is outside of the coverage weather watch that we have right now. So there's no weather watch for this area further to the west, but we're noticing this one. We're watching it closely. It does have a little hail core to it, and it is not immediately severe, but it is something that we're watching. So keeping a close eye on that. If you are in Crystal Falls, Ivan, Breckenridge, in these areas, you may see some small hail, probably up to nickel size. Because another thing that we're watching is because the temperatures are in the 90s, there might be a melting effect. So some of the radar indications with some of the tools we're looking at behind the scenes might estimate the size of the hail just because it's not accounting for the melting. So that, to me, might be penny, maybe nickel size, and not quite the severe hail that the radar might be indicating there. So let's go back. Another thing to mention, we have 1-inch hail that was reported in Corsicana, and that was by an emergency manager. I also want to point out there is a fairly strong area of wind in downtown Corsicana right now. Radar is indicating, and it is looking fairly a ways away, not too far away from the radar, but it is indicating almost 55 miles an hour in the Corsicana area. So there might be some 50, 60 mile per hour winds in Corsicana right now. Same with the communities of Roran and Turns to the east of that. There's a area of strong wind on the leading edge of this storm. So we're keeping a close eye on that. Let's go back to our hail core tracker. And yeah, if you're in downtown Corsicana, it wouldn't surprise me if you start to see some large damaging hail up to maybe ping pong ball sized with this storm. So if you are in your home, make sure that you are away from westerly windows. I would even be away from windows that are facing north too, just because this storm might be flinging that large hail with the wind. So we're watching that, and the Weather Service just updated the warning. So now this one, they're saying $50 sized is possible. And again, that's not surprising. I think we're going to go ahead and just cover our bases and say here, $50 might be falling, but there could be some mixed stones of ping pong ball size, just given the conditions that we're looking at here. So let's zoom out. and we'll have to watch this little feature further to the southwest of Corsicana that's merging with this storm. We'll watch that very closely. We're also watching new development near Meridian and Itasca and down near Brownwood. We don't cover Brownwood, but all of this development, we could start to see numerous scattered storms across the severe thunderstorm watch area here shortly. So again, if you're in these areas that are under the severe thunderstorm watch, and I'll show you, that's every area here in pink. You need to be weather alert this afternoon and this evening, because there is a pretty good severe weather risk this afternoon and evening, and that includes the risk for large damaging hail up to 2 inches plus with some of these storms. So let's see. Strong winds look to be in the Corsicana area at this moment, especially in Powell. Powell, there looks to be a spike in the winds right there. Radar is estimating up to 62 miles an hour in some spots. So keep in mind, this is looking about 4,000 feet up, so that might be translating to between 60 and 65 on the leading edge of the storm. So we're keeping a very close eye on that. But if you are in the community of Corsicana, if you were in Powell, I would be just indoors waiting the storm to pass, because there is the potential for not only large hail, but we're also starting to see the winds pick up with this particular storm on the leading edge of it. And we're going to estimate between 60 and maybe a few gusts of 65. And it looks like the National Weather Service just updated that warning to include 65-mile-per-hour winds. They are also noticing that uptick that is basically along Highway 31 from Corsicana to Powell. These little pockets of up to 65 mile per hour winds and maybe even higher. So we're watching this. Of course, we're noticing the large hail with this storm, and we're also watching those strong winds that are moving into these communities, basically along 31. So this is a pretty nasty little supercell that's coming together right now over Navarro County. So if you're in Navarro County, you need to be in shelter inside of a sturdy building. We're not talking shelter like a tornado, not to create any sort of fear or anything like that, but you need to be sheltering in a sturdy building, because we are now seeing winds exceeding 60 miles an hour and this large hail. So you don't want to be caught outdoors. You don't want to be under a small awning or anything like that. If you can make it to shelter in a sturdy building and wait the storm out, make sure that you can get there, because we know people are focusing on just typical June activities. People are out and about for the weekend, enjoying the lake. They're out and about. They might be taking a walk. They might be doing all sorts of activities. And if you're outdoors, you need to be inside, because this is creating a lot of lightning, and there is a large hail and damaging wind threat with this. So make sure that you're seeking shelter indoors and just wait until the storm passes. I would avoid westerly and northerly windows, just because these strong winds mixed with the large hail, it's going to be flinging the hail at the sides of your home, and that can cause damage to siding. It can also cause damage to windows that might be exposed to this. So we're watching this very closely. If you're just now watching, this is not for Dallas, this particular storm. This is for areas to the south. Now, Dallas is under a watch until 10 o'clock tonight. Keeping a very close eye on the forecast. But right now, we are primarily looking at the Corsicana and Powell area for 65-mile-per-hour winds and maybe ping-pong ball-sized hail. Hail roughly between ping-pong, half-dollar size, kind of in that general realm. That's what we're watching there. So let's zoom out real quick and just kind of do a brief overview for the DFW area right now. I'm sitting in Irving, and I'm just noticing nothing but blue and beautiful skies. So if you're in Dallas right now, if you're in Fort Worth and you're looking north and you don't really see anything, you see clouds that are well to the south of you, and you're wondering, well, when is our activity going to make its way into the area? Right now, no activity in the metro, but that's not to say we won't see activity later. We're keeping a very close eye on this forecast and the activity that we're going to be looking at. All right, that is very concerning. The latest update that we are looking at here with this particular storm. The National Weather Service just updated this to tennis ball size, and I would fully agree. We've been noticing those reports of up to ping pong ball size earlier. Right now, we're seeing mainly reports of quarters coming in, but the uptick with this is it's merging with that other storm, and I'll show you. It's beginning to mature a little bit more, and if you were on earlier, I mentioned that storms, it sounds weird to say, but basically supercells are breathing, they're living, breathing things. They're born, they grow up, they mature, and they die off. This is what we're dealing with right now. This is in its maturing stages. And another thing that I want to quickly mention, it's not plotting here yet, but the National Weather Service went ahead and issued a new severe thunderstorm watch for our western counties where that development is developing. So they've expanded the watch for some of our counties off to the west, and that is accounting for that development that we're noticing out there. But in the meantime, we do have this new updated warning for tennis ball sized hail near the Corsicana area, and in fact, that is concerning enough. I'm going to actually send out a notification here real quick to the app. If you haven't already downloaded, make sure you download the free Weather 225 mobile app. We're sending out these alerts, and you can actually watch us on the app if anything happens to Apple TV or Amazon Fire TV if you're watching us on there, or on YouTube on your television or anything like that. So make sure that you download that for free, Apple and Google Play. Tennis ball. So we just sent out that notification real quick. We're also checking a couple of other things here. Tennis ball size hail is possible to storm near Corsicana, Mildred, and Powell. So we have, we also have this noticeable area of spin near the Corsicana area. We have a couple of areas that we're keeping a very close eye on. Let's see. New severe thunderstorm warning. Okay, that is outside. That includes Brushy Creek. Apologize for butchering that. That is not in our. So let's actually go back and look at the hail core tracker, and oh boy, we're starting to get those reports in of 2+ inch hail. Trained weather spotters reported hen egg sized hail reported in the city of Corsicana. So Corsicana just recently was hit by some pretty large damaging hail, and it wouldn't surprise me if we continue to see this moving basically into Powell. So if you're in Powell right now, this is a pretty dangerous situation. Hail up to tennis ball sized is possible with this storm. So if you're in Powell, I would get inside and stay away from westerly windows. I really would. And if you are in Corinnes, if you're in Rowan, this is a pretty nasty pocket of hail, and it has a history of producing hen egg sized hail, and maybe even bigger, up to tennis balls. So we're watching that. I would also like to point out here, we have a developing hail core coming up near the Italy area. That is right along our little boundary here, so we'll have to wait and see if that boundary kind of interferes with this one. Further to the west, this storm near Meridian, it's maturing some, but it's not really coming up really fast. Also watching this one near Caddo and Breckenridge. Let's take a look at the area of spin. And we need to be watching that one too, because that one has a spinning updraft with it, And again, when I say this isn't necessarily for tornado risk, but this is also this is mostly for the large damaging hail risk. And when you get these spinning up drafts, it means that a storm is going to be strong enough to suspend hail for a longer period of time with it. And let's also look at this one in Anderson County. And this one's got some interesting characteristics to it. There is a hook feature to it just outside the warning. But this is looking a little bit more classic, so this one might also be capable of, I would say, ping pong ball sized hail or larger. So if you're in Brushy Creek and areas surrounding, fortunately this is a more rural part of the county. If you're in Brushy Creek, I would be ready for the potential for ping pong ball sized hail. So let's see here. Let's go and do a broad overview real quick for those who are just now tuning in the DFW area. I've said this a couple of times now. If you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, looking around, it's nothing but blue skies, and you're wondering, we got to be in the clear. That is not the case. We're going to be watching the potential for storms over the next several hours, and we are monitoring that very closely just because we have storms developing now, and we are forecasting additional development over the next little bit. So make sure that you're staying weather alert. Make sure you download that free Weather 225 mobile app as well. And I want to check the surface observations here real quick off to the side just to see where that dry line is setting up. We'll put radar back on here. And I apologize that we're bouncing back and forth, but we're looking at a million things here. Oh, also, I'm going to actually take that back off and show you. It just plotted new severe thunderstorm watch expansion, including our western counties up to Young County, Palo Pinto County, and I believe Jack County there as well. That is in effect until 10 o'clock tonight. They went ahead and issued that because we're noticing some intensification with development that popped up there just a little bit ago. So let's go to the Weather Prediction Center, surface observations. Yeah, and our little outflow boundary is still kind of just stalled right over portions of the western metro, and it hasn't really moved. We'll put this into motion. It was moving, but it merged with another, and it's basically stalled. So we might see additional development along this outflow boundary. Further to the west, we're going to be watching that closely too, just because that dry line should be near Haskell and Anson by the surface observations that we're looking at. So there could be some additional severe storms out there over the next little bit. But right now, let's go back into the metro area. And we're keeping a close eye on this activity. Let's see. Someone asked a second ago, is Midlothian going to get hit? Not by this particular storm, but if you are in Midlothian, you have a severe thunderstorm watch until 10 o'clock tonight. I would just be weather alert through this evening because you are in that watch, and pretty much everyone here in the severe thunderstorm watch has an equal opportunity of seeing severe weather. Not everyone's going to see severe storm activity, but because we have that watch in effect until 10 o'clock tonight, it's just better to have multiple ways to receive warnings here. Let's go back, and I'm still watching that little area of rotation south of Mildred. And this one, it's going through stages, but that hail core definitely seems to be expanding. Same with the one to the west of Italy. It wouldn't surprise me if that one becomes severe within the next half hour or so. If it continues its current trends. But right now, basically along Highway 31 in Powell, Corinnes, and portions of southern Rowan, there's going to be some quite large hail up to maybe tennis ball size with that storm. Big hail core with that. That is a very intense maturing supercell. Let's go to this one in Brushy Creek real quick. And that one is showing signs of rotation or rotating updraft as well, meaning that this is going to likely produce large damaging hail exceeding $half dollar sized as well. So that's what we got going on here. We're going to go back out to the full view here real quick and just show you that development over the last little bit, just how quickly these fired off and became severe. And the two storms that merged over Ellis and Navarro counties are now morphed into a maturing supercell here in Navarro County, right over, unfortunately, the community of Corsicana, which, of course, saw up to hen egg-sized hail earlier. And that was a report from a trained weather spotter. So that is something that we are keeping a very close eye on, because that one is still going to have the potential for that hail risk. And it doesn't look like it's going to be weakening here anytime soon. So let's go back to the velocity product here real quick. And we're not seeing those bright colors that we saw here just a little bit ago. In fact, I'll go to this product here. Still a little pocket to the northeast of Mildred, but it wasn't those blues that we saw moving over Powell and south of Powell just a little bit ago. Still seeing a little bit of blue, and what that is telling me is 65 mile per hour winds. So it's not widespread areas of these significant winds. There's little pockets of it. So basically within the warning area, it wouldn't surprise me if we see pockets of 65 mile per hour winds mixed with 60 mile per hour winds with this storm. But it is not that intensifying wind that we saw here just a little bit ago. Let's also go back to... Let's check out the 1 hour rainfall. And another thing I want to mention here is the rainfall that we're seeing with these storms. And we're going to be seeing quite a bit of rainfall with this particular storm. It's not moving very fast. And we'll show you that here in just a second. But over the last hour, there's been almost 4 inches of rain near the community of Rice and the community of Rowan. So in addition to the severe weather risk, we're also seeing this potential flash flooding risk with side roads and low-lying areas. So almost 4 inches in the last hour is it's quite a bit of rainfall. Notice as these storms merged, it really has not moved intensity rain-wise from that area. All right, new report from a trained weather spotter of a social media report of up to tennis ball-sized hail 9 miles north of Corsicana. So we were talking about this all morning. We were saying up to baseball-sized hail was going to be possible today. This isn't baseball, but a tennis ball is pretty nasty, and conditions are favorable for this large damaging hail threat, especially if this continues to intensify and mature with it. So we're watching this very carefully, and we'll check back on the velocities here in just a second, but still keeping a very close eye on that storm in particular. I want to zoom out and take a look just briefly at that one near Breckenridge. This is north of Caddo now, and north of Highway 180. And let's check that hail core tracker. And this one's still kind of hanging on to its hail core. It wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing hail exceeding nickel-sized here over the next little bit, kind of in pockets. This might be just a heavy rain producer with mixed small to marginally severe hail. But right now, it doesn't look to be quite severe. That one is still undergoing stages, and it is approaching that stalled outflow boundary that is basically splitting over portions of the Metroplex. We'll go back to this one. This one is still pretty concerning because that one looks like it is going through a cycling phase right now, but it is looking meaner every couple of scans here. Okay, so let's go back to this one. We're also checking our weather wire here and just seeing if there's any sort of additional reports coming out. Train weather spotter, 2.5-inch hail. I want to actually see if I can find that photo on social media here. It shouldn't be hard to find. There's a lot of chasers in that area. I don't see that right now. I'll continue. I'll look for that post here in a little bit and reshare it if I find it. Uh, yeah. So we'll look for that here in a little bit. But let's watch these very carefully, especially this one that's warned. So if you're in Powell, Corinne, or Corenz and Roran, still stay inside, seeking shelter in a sturdy building away from windows, especially western windows, just because we have had confirmation of tennis ball size hail. It may not be producing tennis ball size hail now, and I tell you what, this one's going through a recycling stage. The most concerning hail core looks to have shifted south of 31 with that latest scan. So it may not be producing tennis balls that it was earlier, but there's still going to be some hail. So make sure that you're just riding up this storm. Don't be outside in the middle of this. When we say shelter, it's not to scare you for tornado. Like we said, there's a low risk for tornadoes today. But overall, this one is primarily that large damaging hail threat, almost 3 inches in diameter. We're at 2.5. And that was the max report we saw. Right now, this one looks to be merging with another storm that is near Italy. So this one's kind of absorbing the storms to the west. So it might be going through a weakening stage right now, especially because it's absorbing another small storm that developed near Purdon and to the northeast of Curvin. So this one's going to be recycling, but this one definitely is not a storm to mess with. It's going to be outrunning the warning box here in just a little bit, so it wouldn't surprise me if we see an additional warning for portions or areas further to the east near Log Cabin, Malakoff, Crossroads, Toole, Gunbarrel City, and Eustis. The more concerning portion of the storm is going to be probably not for the Gunbarrel City area, but this is just what we're watching here at the moment. And that is Henderson County that this will be moving into here shortly. So if you're in Henderson County, just get ready if you're on the western sides of Henderson County for a nasty storm. Also, areas further to the south that are not in our coverage area, we'll start to see this here shortly as well. But this one has had a history of producing up to tennis ball sized hail. And noticing that one near Purdon is turning more into almost a hook-like feature, so that might have to be something we watch here for another hail core here in just a second, because there is some rotation feature to it. And yeah, we need to watch that hook area here. There is some distinct rotation with it. Again, there's a low chance for tornadoes today. But right now, that doesn't necessarily look like a tornado risk. This looks like it might absorb and be the next big hail core with it. So yeah, we'll be watching that very carefully. We're also looking off kind of to the west at some other activity. Unfortunately, whenever we go quiet, I apologize for that. We have a couple of monitors that we're looking off to the side with reports that are coming in different radar products to kind of let us know what all is happening, so we can deliver you the best information possible. Right now, not seeing any sort of additional reports, but I am noticing an uptick in that activity. Um, yeah, and Weather Service was just noticing it too. That activity to the west, we were looking at the radar, and just as I was about to mention it and move it, they issued a new severe thunderstorm warning. So this is for portions of Palo Pinto County and Stephens County, and this is for the potential of golf ball size hail. So we skipped the entry level hail with that, and we're going right to the pretty major hail core with that. Keep in mind this is looking fairly a ways away from the radar site, so we may not be getting the best estimation with it. But this one is also a fairly nasty storm, and we're going to go ahead and issue that alert. And that again is for portions of Palo Pinto and Stephens County, and this goes in effect until I believe they said 5:45. Okay, so we got that sent off. I wanna actually open my Twitter here real quick and see if we can get any of those reports coming in. Okay, so we're gonna follow this hashtag and just see if we can get anything. Someone is struggling to find where that social media post was. Okay, here's one, 2.5 inch hail. Oh boy, that was some pretty large hailstones. Found it. We'll be retweeting that if you would like to see that photo too. I tell you what, we need to go back to this one and look at that spin coming up really fast of a 287, and we have a monitor off to the side that I was looking at the velocity with that one. It had basically a major uptick that last scan, and we're noticing that hail core is going through a cycling phase right now, and that might be the next major hail producer of this particular storm. And that one is going to be coming up here real quick. And we also have an additional warning that just went up for that Italy storm too, and that one looks to be for $half sized hail. So $half sized hail and 60 mile per hour winds. So we're noticing an uptick with these. That one to the west, we'll look at that hail core tracker. And oh boy, that one might also be approaching more of that golf ball size here in the next little bit. So we're going to send out that alert too. This is for Ellis and Navarro County, and I believe this is until 5:45 as well. See, and the Weather Service also, if you were just watching here just a second ago, we mentioned that one, and we're going to bunch of updates here from the Weather Service, so apologize if you hear some noises in the background. We are noticing that one had a really quick uptick with that velocity signature, and the National Weather Service is also monitoring that, and they say that this one is now capable of up to golf ball size hail. So this one might be capable of golf ball size hail again. That major hail core is right over near Eureka right now, and just to the east of Eureka. Fortunately, at this time, that looks to be a more sparsely populated area. So this is a little bit more rural, and hopefully that will be the case for this large damaging hail where it doesn't affect people's homes. But if you are to the northeast of Eureka with a little farmstead or anything like that, you want to be aware that this is some pretty major hail that could be coming into that area. We're approaching 2 inches in diameter once again, and that's going to be just riding to the north of Highway 287 to the northeast of Eureka. Also, we'll go back to the west. We're going to be bouncing back and forth between these. If you're in downtown Italy, there is this major hail core. Not really sure why it's not lining up with the reflectivity very well. But if you're in downtown Italy, maybe some ping pong ball sized hail could be mixed in with that particular storm. And let's go back to the one to the northwest. And if you're in Caddo, if you're in Brad, and eventually Metcalf, we're still watching this one very closely. This one is capable of producing up to golf ball sized hail at 60 mile per hour winds. National Weather Service is keeping that golf ball sized hail risk with that. So we're watching that one as it is approaching the 180 corridor here in just a second. We're going to be watching that very carefully. In fact, there's that new scan. I want to go back to it. It's just passing by Caddo right now. And notice that core went up. And so this will be maintaining its strength. In fact, we might even be approaching maybe even larger than golf ball if there's any confirmation there. So we're awaiting confirmation for any sort of reports on that westerly storm. But right now, the most damaging storm that we have right now from a report standpoint is going to be this one in Navarro County. I want to look at this one from a different product. I tell you what, we've been watching and mentioning for a Hellcore perspective. I'm gonna scan this real quick off to the side here, and I tell you what, we're not trying to overhype this, but what I'm doing right now is I'm looking. For those who don't know, when a radar scans, it goes around in a circle, and it goes with what we call different tilts, and every tilt is a different elevation in the atmosphere that this one is looking at, and the higher up we go, we're looking at different levels. And for those who also don't know, when it comes to rotation and any sort of tornadic activity, we look from the upper levels all the way down to the surface, because a storm will rotate from the upper levels to the mid levels, and then it will translate to the lower levels in the surface. And this has been mostly a mid-level storm, but I want to point out that velocity is looking a little bit more concerning on the terms for that low tornado risk, because we're getting a little bit of what we call gate-to-gate shear. And that's when you get these bright greens and these reds coming together. And it is fairly broad at the moment, but it is looking a little bit more impressive with each scan. So I want to look and wait for the next scan to come in here in the next minute or two. But that one is looking pretty concerning at the moment. And we'll see if the next scan, if that one kind of just weakens off like it's been doing. And if this one continues its intensity, we might be dealing with maybe an isolated tornado risk with that. In fact, I actually want to take a look at what we call our meso analysis and see if we can get. And we're noticing people are. We're noticing some chasers are noticing a lowering feature down their streetmen. That is also another thing to mention for areas just to the northeast of Streetman. In addition to that being a rotation area that we're watching very closely, that is also going to be capable of up to maybe 65-mile-per-hour winds with that stronger area of wind that you see right there. So we might be approaching almost actually 65, maybe even a little bit higher than that winds right now. Let's. I want to keep on this one because this one is pretty concerning, and the other tools that we're looking off to the side out of a 10, this is showing us about a 5. So keeping a very close eye on this one. I want to actually go back and okay, so we're going to keep a very close eye on this. And again, we're not trying to, make anyone nervous or say that this is a tornado, but when you have a signature this impressive, this is when we're going to be watching for that isolated tornado risk, just because this is a little bit stronger than some of those spinning cores that we've been seeing over the last little bit. So this might be indicative of not only that rotation, but I tell you what, over the last couple scans, that hail core has definitely come back. So this one might be producing up to golf ball sized hail just along 287 to the east of Eureka. This is going to be approaching Crossroads here in the next little bit. Its motion right now is off to the southeast, or the east southeast, and it is around about 15 miles an hour. This will be moving outside of our coverage area too in the next little bit. Let's go back real quick to this one in Italy, and that one has increased pretty good. Let's see. Checking the large hail core here, and we'll be checking the comments here in just a second. Okay, new update just came out from the National Weather Service. Okay, so that's not for our coverage area. I was looking to see, we had a new update coming in here, but we do not cover Freestone County, and that is that's where this storm is headed. The National Weather Service put a considerable damage tag because we are now approaching hail a little bit larger than golf ball. We're also looking at 70-mile-per-hour winds, but fortunately for our area, this is leaving our county coverage area here as well. And we were looking at this rotation here because it was pretty impressive. It's still fairly broad, but this is indicating to me that this is a pretty significant hail core. This is also pretty significant winds that are moving towards the Tennessee Colony and Cuyahoga. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Cuyahoga. So this is going to be approaching Freestone County. We don't cover Freestone County, so now this is moving out. We'll go back to the areas to the north here real quick. And if you're in northern Corsicana, M House, areas like that, I hate to say it, but with this more southeasterly movement that we're watching with a lot of these storms, you might be under the gun here pretty shortly for up to $50, maybe even golf ball size hail as this storm evolves. So this one's right now over, I believe that's Highway 34, Highway 55. That's the strongest part of the core. Moving to the west, noticing some new development basically across Hill County. Right now, the strongest one is near Malone. And then, of course, we're noticing some development near Comanche there too. But right now, that one is not that impressive. It's really struggled to maintain any sort of strengthening phase to it. So we'll be watching that. That'll be brief, moderate to heavy rainfall. But we haven't been looking at this one, and we don't want to overlook those areas. If you're in Caddo, Brad, and Metcalf, that's where we're watching for another area of large damaging hail up to golf ball sized in this area in Palo Pinto and Stephens County. So we're watching that. We really don't cover Stephens County. We cover Palo Pinto. but we're going to be talking about this just because it is moving into the Palo Pinto County area, and that's why we haven't been focused on this one in particular so far, but we're going to continue to watch this as it moves more and more into our coverage area. Still have that stalled outflow boundary, basically over portions of Parker County into Wise County, Johnson County, and into Hill County. The outflow boundary is interfering with some of that activity kind of near the Meridian area, so also watching all of that. And right now, because it's not super intense, we're going to be looking in the Facebook comments and just seeing if anyone is asking any sort of questions or anything like that. We will be glad to answer that. We're looking over some reports here. Okay, that update is not for our coverage area either. I wish we had some cameras in that area. We do have cameras in the Dallas area, but right now I don't think those are going to have a good view looking south. But I will look at the Dallas camera, see if we can pick up anything. Okay, I believe this is, we'll go to this one. And I believe from this this viewpoint, this is looking, I believe that's looking maybe to the southwest-ish. I'm not quite sure, again, where this camera lines up. Let's go back to the, we'll go back to the Dallas Skycam here. This is another one of our cameras that we use. And we will load that up. And I was mentioning just a little bit ago, if you're in Dallas and you're wondering, well, where's our weather right now? We don't have anything. In fact, look outside with this live Skycam. We don't see anything here in DFW at all. We're watching this very carefully just because there is a watch that does include the Dallas-Fort Worth area until 10 o'clock tonight. So we still have several hours. We have about 5 hours left from the watch standpoint. We're going to be watching this. But right now, like you can see from the Dallas Skycam, it is a beautiful day in Dallas. So if you're in DFW, enjoy your day, but make sure you have ways to receive warnings in case anything starts to develop. So let's go back to the radar. And new report just came out, and that is for 65 mile per hour winds. That doesn't surprise me. Let me go back to the velocity here. Actually, I want to go back to this one. I'm not quite sure why that plotted to the northeast or northwest of Eureka, because this report was for 5 miles east of Eureka. Interesting. 67 mile per hour wind was reported, and it plotted as 65. So just another hiccup that we have to look at when we're looking at these reports coming in when they're up to the second. So let's go back. 1 inch hail is reported in Italy. That was a public report. Reports of quarter-sized hail. New hail core also going up near Malone. It wouldn't surprise me just because of the trend that we've been looking at most of the day, if that one also decided to go ahead and become severe. So right now, if you are in a warning right now, you are under the gun for, let's say, $half size hail to golf ball size. For the one to the northwest in Palo Pinto County, that one is for golf ball size hail. The one that includes Navarro County right now, that is for golf ball size hail. And then the one for Ellis and Navarro counties is in effect for $half to maybe ping pong ball sized hail. So we got a lot going on here. I'm going to take these reports off and the little rotation tracks just because they're not necessary. But we're going to take a quick break here real quick and look over some things. We'll let you know if anything changes, and we'll break back into coverage if anything develops. So thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for the latest. Make sure you download that free Weather 225 mobile app as well. Thank you for watching.
MyPro Difference. MyPro for free inspection. Showing the sun, rain, blistering heat, freezing cold, and Texas storms can damage the roof on your home or commercial building. For a free inspection, call the experts at MyPro Construction and Roofing. They're a DFW-based platinum preferred roofing contractor with Owens Corning and Tilcor stone-coated steel. Fully insured. Ask about the MyPro Difference.
Due to recent storms, MyPro has boots on the ground ready to help you.
For a free roof inspection, go to myproconstruction.com.
For my home, it's
Whether it's sunny, stormy, or snowy in North Texas, be sure to download our free Weather 225 mobile app. Like our video and our live stream? Find us today on Amazon Fire TV.